Ahoy folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So, Grim Protocols has dropped. The first Ogryn build I put out was pretty much an unkillable all-rounder that's very easy to step into with an Ogryn. And I saw a lot of the people's comments saying that, oh, don't like this build, blah, blah, blah. But the point of it is, if you are a new player, the Slab Shield is the easiest way to teach yourself how to play as the Ogryn. But I heard all the comments, so we're going for a more damage-orientated build. So we're going to be using the Pickaxe, more specifically the Cast Solus. So this is how we're going to build it. First of all, the modifiers. As you can see, defense is our dump stat. We're going for damage, cleave damage, crowd control, and penetration, lol, as our 80%, and defense as 60, because we don't care about defense. We do, but it doesn't really make much of a difference to us. So we want everything else as high as we can. As for the perks, we're going for Carapace and Flak. This is going to help us deal with Crushers and Maulers and also everything else in Flak armor. As Flak is the most prevalent armor type in the game, this is going to give us the biggest damage bonus for longer. And also with the modifiers, how they're set, the breakpoints for hurting unarmored targets is pretty damn high. Next up, we're going for the blessings. We're going for Slaughterer, which gives us plus 8% strength for 4.5 seconds on kill, stacking 5 times. And Thrust, up to 20% strength based on charge time of your heavy attack, stacks 3 times. Now, I am well aware we have the lovely PlayStation 5 groups joining us, so these folks may not know what these blessings are. So, I'm not going to take that for granted. I'm going to explain things a little bit more thoroughly than I usually do. So, do feel free to let your mind wander for a few seconds. So, Thrust, as it's worded, up to 20% strength based on the charge time of your heavy attack, which basically means the longer you hold your heavy attack, the more damage it does, stacking 3 times, so up to 60%. As you can see, one swing, only 1 stack of thrust, hold it back for a little bit longer, all 3. Partly while we're using the Cast Solus as well. As you can see, thrust stacks up to 3 almost instantly. So you're getting that massive damage boost pretty much all of the time with this weapon. Now, let's take a look at the ranged weapon. We are still using the new Heavy Stubber, and that's because I really like it. It fills a void in the Ogryn's toolkit that he didn't have until now. A reliable way to kill things at long range, and also a torch, which is probably the most important part of this. We finally have a torch. At the moment, as you can see, it's not fully upgraded because I've been doing the Psyker and the Zealot, and I have limited funds to be able to do this, so we're still leveling this up. For the moment, range is going to be our dump stat, which is, I know, confusing because I just said it's a long range weapon. Range does not add that much to the table. The drop off on this weapon is ridiculously long, so we can just ignore range. We want damage, stopping power, collateral, and stability. Range, we're just going to ignore it. As for perks, we're going for Flak and Maniac. Again, Flak is the most prevalent armor type in the game, and Maniac because we want to know when we land shots on snipers, trappers, bombers, we want them to go down as soon as possible, which is why we're taking Maniac. The Heavy Stubber does do some really nice damage to Carapace armored enemies, but we're not going to spec into that because we already have a weapon that is dealing with them. We want this toolkit to be as rounded as possible, which is why Maniac. And for the blessings, so far, if you're using this purely as a long-range sniping weapon to deal with, as I said, the Maniac targets, Surgical and Deadly Accurate are incredibly good picks for this, as they don't do much to your just normal hip fire, but when you're aiming, it does actually increase quite a bit, and reliably allows you to take out these targets, especially if you're going to use a heavier variant. This is the lightest variant at the moment, the Korok. So, Korok is the lightest, the Gorgonum is the medium, and then the Achilles is the heaviest. So we'll switch over to that for a second. And as you can see, you can aim down sights a bit more with this weapon. And also headshots are basically kill shots. I would highly suggest using the Achilles as the base weapon for this, especially if you are using it for a long-range sniping weapon. Otherwise, pick whichever one you like the most, really. The hip fire is a bit slower on this weapon, and a bit more janky. But as I said, not really the reason we're taking it. We're taking this to be able to kill at long range reliably. So, Surgical gives us plus 10% critical chance every 0.25 seconds while aiming, stacks 10 times, discharges when all stacks up on firing. Aim the gun, get lots of crit. Shoot, crit goes away. And then Deadly Accurate gives us plus 90% critical weak spot damage. Do the crit, get more crit damage. And also, when they hit tier 4, they'll be better. Next up, we're going to be looking at the Curios. I'm currently running this setup. I am changing quite often at the moment because, new patch, new things. So far, I'm running with 2 plus 21% max health Curios with extra toughness, stamina regeneration, and damage resistance gunners. These are exactly the same. And before anyone says it, yes, I'm running stamina regeneration because in Havoc, dodging, blocking, and being able to not get hit is quite important. Stamina regen also allows our stamina regen not only to generate faster, it's how fast it starts to regenerate. That is what we want as well. Because remember, you can't push block a burster if you have no stamina. So good luck trying to stop your team exploding if you don't have any stamina. And also, we do actually want to use the push block attacks quite a lot, because as you can see, block, push, stab, overhead. That combo is how you're going to be taking out a lot of crushers. Block, push, overhead. You can also do the other way, which is mouse button 4, or whatever your extra action button is on your controller. It pulls them forwards and puts you straight into an overhead strike, which then basically deals with any crusher. This is on Damnation difficulty, as all of these guides are done, so all of the breakpoints of damage you're seeing are what they will be on Damnation. And then the last hero is just a 17% toughness with extra toughness, damage resistant snipers, and damage resistant gunners. All three have damage resistant gunners on them because gunners are still absolutely awful. And I threw on some sniper resist there just in case we do get clipped by one. You should be able to dodge out of the way of them, but I mean on sniper basically when there are ventilation purges with snipers, there's lots of them. So this can help you if you get clipped. Right, let's take a look at the talents. We're going to start off with Furious. For each enemy you hit during the same heavy melee attack, you gain 2.5% damage on your next melee attack. Then is the best defense, replenish 20% toughness after hitting multiple enemies with a single heavy attack. Toughness boost. Then we're grabbing Smash 'em, replenish 20% toughness after hitting a single enemy with a heavy melee attack. Into Heavyweight, the best talent in the tree. Plus 30% damage against Bulwarks, Crushers, Plague Ogrins, and Reapers. Also receive plus 30% damage reduction against the same. Then into Linchpin, toughness replenishment while incoherency is increased by 50%. Into Toughness Boost, and then we're taking Frag Bomb. Throw an Ogryn-sized, the only proper kind, frag grenade with a 16-meter blast radius dealing increased damage at the center. This is your get-out-of-jail-free card. You only have one of them, use it wisely, but don't hold on to it till the end. If things are looking sketchy for you and your team, if you're being overwhelmed and you need to basically have a break in the weather, this grenade will do it for you. As I said, you only get one, but don't hoard it. Use it. It really does save the day. Now, usually I would go for Bombs Away so that we could pick up both Slam and Soften them up, but with Havoc, it's becoming more and more apparent that Frag Bomb is kind of the way to go. And now that we have a long-range way of actually dealing with enemies, the Big Friendly Rock is kind of coming down in the tier list. It's still very, very good, especially if you're not taking the Heavy Stubber. But with the Heavy Stubber, Frag Bomb is the go-to choice. So next up, soften them up. Enemies damaged by you take 15% more damage for 5 seconds. Into toughness damage reduction. Into indomitable. Charge forward with great force, knocking back enemies and staggering them. Gain plus 25% attack speed and 25% movement speed for 5 seconds. Charge is stopped on collision with monstrosities. Not entirely true. You can stop the charge yourself by hitting the S key if you're on PC, or whatever your back button is on your controller. And this way you can target the charge if you want to hit just one thing or one thing specifically. So just hitting the back key pulls you out of the charge if you need to. Otherwise, just let it roll. And with this, we're going to be taking Stomping Boots, replenish 10% toughness per enemy hit with Indomitable, and then into Pulverize. Apply 5 stacks of bleed on enemies hit by Indomitable. Now, the reason we're not taking Trample is because I do find that Trample, there's a lot of overkill with Trample. Yes, you do more damage, but a lot of the damage it's giving you isn't necessarily needed. You can only do so much damage to a target, and this kind of takes you over the top a bit. Whereas Pulverize gives you insane amounts of defense when we combine that with a talent later on down in the tree. Taking the rending boost here for 5% rending. Rending basically works out 1% rending equals 1% damage, more or less. And then into Batter, inflict 4 stacks of bleed on heavy melee attack. And then into the heavy melee damage boost for heavy melee damage. Into Bonebreaker's Aura, which gives us more plus heavy melee damage. And then into melee damage boost. And then into the middle for a toughness boost. And into Attention Seeker, blocking or pushing enemies, taunts them for 8 seconds. This is a good way of helping your team control the battlefield. Not so much when you have the shield. You can use that to drag in ranged enemies by blocking them, and it taunts them and they come in. But with this, it's more you can control what is actually going after you, and if someone in your team is getting attacked, you can help by pushing or blocking. And for some reason it doesn't work in the Lycanarium anymore. You'll know it's working because their heads will start glowing red. And then into Payback Time, plus 20% damage for 5 seconds after being hit with a melee attack. You are going to take a lot of chip damage. Even if you block, even if you dodge, you will get Payback Time. So you don't even have to take the damage. You just have to be hit at, and Payback Time procs. And that's basically most of the level. So back over to this side. We're then taking 2 Stubborn to Die, plus 100% toughness replenishment while below 33% health. This is quite a handy clutch talent. Basically, if things are going horribly wrong, this is going to help you out. Then Delight in Destruction, plus 8% damage resistance per bleeding enemy in melee range, stacks 6 times. Now this is what is going to be going in conjunction with Pulverize and Batter. So we're laying around with bleeds. This is going to give us lots of lovely defense. Yes, it only stacks 6 times, but both of these allow you to reliably get bleeds on everything around you and keep it there. Then we're going in for Dominate, plus 10% rending for 10 seconds on elite kill. Not that impressive, but we're going down the tree anyway. Then into Toughness damage reduction. And then we're picking up Implacable, plus 15% damage reduction while charging a melee attack. Then into Heavy melee damage boost, and then Heavy Hitter. This is your Keystone, plus 5% damage for 7.5 seconds on heavy attack. Hit stacking 5 times. And then we're taking Just Getting Started, while Heavy Hitter is at 5 stacks, gain 10% attack speed. And last but not least, Unstoppable. While Heavy Hitter is at 5 stacks, toughness replenishment from melee kills is increased by 100%. And this does team up with the best defense and smash him very, very, very well. And with this, you will be wrecking face on the battlefield. It's not too difficult to use. I mean, if you're just getting into using the pickaxe, it can be a little bit clunky. But once you figure out, you know, the special, pulling things forward, staggering them, knowing where you can get those overhead hits from, it's a very fun weapon to use. It's one of my favourite weapons to use on the Ogryn. And if you're looking for damage, it's a pretty good place to go. And also, I really do like that new heavy stubber. Being able to 2 or 3 shot a crusher with an Ogryn ranged weapon is just silly. But there you go, folks. A more damage focused build for the Ogryn. I do hope you enjoy, and if you do, please do like and subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And I shall see you all for the next one. So until then, take it easy, and I'll see you later.